Are you thinking about buying the Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8 G Master lens for your Sony ASP-C camera? Are you worried about the cost? Do you think it might be too much to pay for a good piece of glass? In this video, I'm going to tell you about my personal experience using this lens and let you know why I decided to buy this lens for my Sony a6400. Keep watching because we're about to do this video next. Welcome to my channel. I'm Brian the Camera Guy, and I make videos reviewing Sony cameras and their lenses. If that's something you're into, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. This is the second lens review in a series I'm calling the best lenses for the Sony ASP-C cameras. If you missed my first video about the Sigma 16mm f1.4, I'll put a link up in the cards above and down in the description below. To my previous viewers, welcome back. You already know what's coming next. Let's go ahead, throw this lens on the camera for the rest of the video. Oh, there you go. Some of that beautiful native lens sweetness. The Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8 G Master lens is Sony's first f2.8 zoom lens made specifically for the Sony crop sensor cameras. Prior to this lens, Sony made a couple of f4 zoom lenses, including the 10 to 18mm and their highly popular 18 to 105mm. Sony also partnered with Zeiss to make the 16 to 70mm. All four of these lenses were specifically designed for their ASP-C cameras. Before the Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8, Sony had really ignored their ASP-C lineup. The three other lenses that I mentioned are all 7 years or older. Now, lenses usually hold up for a very long time, and 7 years is not ancient, but it's not cutting edge technology either. I can tell you, after using the 16 to 55mm lens for the past 3 months, this lens is really nice and it has some really nice tech packed inside. Now, this lens has a lot of pros, but it also has some cons. I'm gonna go ahead and run through those, but make sure you stick around until the end of the video and I'll let you know where I think this lens really shines. The Sony 16 to 55mm f2.8 G Master lens is a crop sensor lens made specifically for the Sony E Mount cameras. This lens originally started shipping in the fall of 2019. The biggest highlight for this lens is that it is a constant f2.8. On the Sony crop sensor cameras, this lens has a 24 to 82.5mm full frame equivalent. The f2.8 will give you an equivalent look as an f4 on a full frame camera. Now, the 24 to 82mm look is really nice if you're behind the camera. It may not be wide enough if you're looking to do some vlogging, as you'd have to fully extend your arm to be able to give yourself a semi-wide look. Also, holding your arm out that far will not be the most stable footage. More to come on stability. Make sure you stick around all the way until the end for that. All you hear about is that everyone wants that creamy bokeh. Well, I'm happy to report that this lens is gonna give it to you. This lens weighs in at 494 grams, or 1.09 pounds. That's a pretty good weight for a crop sensor lens. Now, typically, weight is a good indication of quality, and the Sony 16 to 55mm is a well-built lens. I actually really like the weight of this lens. It helps with the stabilization. Now, it lets you put both hands comfortably on the camera and the lens to make sure that you have a really nice grip. I feel like this lens is just the right length, as it just feels good in your hands. I also really like having the autofocus, manual focus switch on the side of the lens. I'm old school, and I really like having the ability to change the focus mode with my hands. It beats having to hunt through the menu system or to remember the shortcut I made. This switch is a real time saver. Speaking of focus, this lens is super fast. The autofocus on this lens is quiet and super reliable. The only time it's gonna let you down is when you get really close to the lens. The minimum focusing distance is about 15 inches, so this lens doesn't work for any macro photography or videography. To be honest, if you need really close, then I would recommend picking up the Sigma 16mm. That has a focusing distance of only 9 inches. Now, after this lens focuses, you'll find it's incredibly sharp. I mean, I'm not someone that gets super technical, so I'm not gonna give you the charts and the graphs, but you can totally see the sharpness from the very second you start using this lens. The difference between the standard kit lens and this G Master lens is ridiculously clear. I mean, you're looking at a $150 lens versus a $1,300 lens. But price aside, the 16 to 55mm is one of the sharpest lenses I've ever used. Do me a favor, if you're finding value in this review, go ahead and smash that like button. Now, I'm not somebody that would call themselves a professional photographer. I mostly use my cameras to create videos, but I also really love this button on the side of the lens. I have customized this button to be the focus hold. So after you find focus on something, you're able to press this button down and lock onto your subject. This prevents your camera from hunting if your subject moves just a little bit. The colors coming out of this lens are super nice. They match up really nice with my Sigma 16mm. I feel like the vibrance and the accuracy of the colors are worthy of the G Master lens. Now, this lens is not all sunshine and rainbows. It has some flaws or drawbacks. If this was the perfect lens, then you probably wouldn't be watching this video and you would have already hit that purchase button. The first and maybe the biggest problem with this lens is there's no stabilization. Sony uses the term OSS, optical steady shot, when they create a lens that has stabilization. Well, this lens has none. I really wish this lens had this feature. I think Sony is banking on you picking up the Sony A65 or 6600. Both of these cameras have IBIS, in-body stabilization. Now, the stabilization in those cameras helps, but they're not the greatest. It does not give you gimbal-like stabilization. These two cameras' IBIS basically help take out some of those micro jitters. So with no stabilization, if you pair this lens with your Sony A6400 or a lower camera, you're gonna get some shaky footage. Now, if you set up this lens with your Sony A6400 on a tripod, or if you're stationary, then this lens will work perfectly. If you're looking to vlog with this lens and your Sony A6400, then you're not going to want to walk and vlog at the same time. Instead, you're going to want to vlog from a stationary location. The other huge con with this lens is that it has a large price tag. Are you ready to spend $1,300 for this lens? After using this lens for the past 3 months, I can tell you that this lens creates some beautiful video, and I believe that if you buy this lens, you are going to be really happy with it. I would love to see this lens closer to the $1,100 or even the $1,000 price point. I mean, this lens has already been discounted $100 since it was first announced. I think it's because Sony knows they overpriced it right off the rip, and it was not selling as well as they thought. If this lens had stabilization, I think it would be a no-brainer, but without it, it really leaves you thinking about it. If this lens was at the $1,000 price point, I could see a lot of people jumping on the ASP-C train. Not everybody needs or wants full-frame cameras, and throwing a full-frame lens on a crop sensor body has its own disadvantages. Someone like you and me are really interested in a cheaper camera option. Talking about who needs or wants a full-frame camera is a full video into itself. Do me a favor, comment down below if you want me to do a video talking about the difference between full frame and ASP-C cameras. So does this lens deserve your money? I think it does, but only if you're looking for the absolute best image possible. This lens does a really nice job, and I think it's worth the money, but this lens is not for everyone. Most people are gonna be perfectly fine with the f4 options, but if you want a lens that's going to deliver time after time, then this is the absolute best lens you can buy for your Sony ASP-C camera. I did promise you a bonus tip on how I use this lens. As I mentioned earlier, I will traditionally use this lens on a tripod or a stationary position. If I do need to move with this lens, I will make sure I use proper technique. I will hold my left hand underneath the lens and my right hand on the side of the camera. Keep those elbows in at a 90-degree angle and make sure you move your lower body. If you're looking to pick up the absolute best lens for your Sony ASP-C camera, then this is the lens you want to buy. If you have any further questions or comments about the Sony 16 to 55mm, make sure you use that comment box down below. If you like this video, then I'm sure you're gonna like the video on the screen now about another lens for the Sony system. Go ahead and click on that video now. Make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell. Brian, out.